Good morning, friends. How are you? Today is Friday, March 22nd, 2024. And let's take a look at what the market is doing pre market and get an idea of what we're going to do today. I hope everyone is having a good day and that you have a good weekend. So, to start off, let's take a look at the cues. I'm going to zoom in over here on the daily, and we can see that yesterday we had a pretty nice day in the cues. It went up and a little bit down from where it started, but it's still holding very close to this level of support, which you can see I drew in the white. Let's zoom into the 5 minute and take a look at what it's doing now. And it looks like it's pulling down below that support level. We're having a little bit of a down day. You could see the trend. And I would expect it to continue. But you can use some of these levels if you wanted to trade off of them for your day trades. I would be comfortable if you came down to here and you started to see it then come back up to here and maybe do a little bit of a bounce back and forth. You could see it's in, low stochastic is a little bit oversold. Zooming out just a little bit to take a look, and you can see how actually the lines are growing wider here and lower there. So it's keep an eye out for what the market is going to do. Let's take a look over here at my watch list. I see Bitcoin pulled back a little bit overnight, about 1,000 points, and it's holding over here on the 1 hour. Again, this is right by this trend. The couple of the support line and a resistance line. It's right in the middle. Little bit, wild to swing at if you were trying to guess what direction it's going. But, zooming out to the daily, it's been in a positive direction. It has pulled back into what we call the wave. There is a level of support here. You could see this volume ledge and this support level here. So I would be comfortable saying I would expect it to bounce off of here to continue its meteoric rise. But you might want to see what happens. Let's see how it shakes out. Let's take a look at Ethereum real quick. It's doing the same thing. I kind of expect it. What I want to point out is you see this candle here. It has like a big head on the top and a long tail or a wick. That to me looks like the sellers tried to push it down, and then the buyers said, no, we're going to push it back up, and it pushed back up, and then you see it came back up here. And again, that matches up pretty well with the volume levels. So, it looks like it could have a reversal. Maybe people are just taking some profit. Let's take a look at silver real quick. Silver did something similar. Let's take a look at gold. Gold is holding, even though it did pull back just slightly. What I would expect is if it continues in this sideways pattern, that it'll start to squeeze. And eventually, when you see like these red dots, when you see a squeeze, it releases in the previous direction of the trend. So squeeze, release, and it jumps up. So we're going to look for a squeeze over here before it either continues to go back up or down. Let's take a look at the euro dollar because that's sort of interesting to me. And you can see on the euro dollar that let's zoom out actually so you get a better look of what's been going on. I'm going to zoom out all the way on the weekly chart so that you can get a real view. And you can see it's been basically going down. The euro is devalued per the dollar, but it was as high as 1.5 at one point. That was in 2010. Now look at where we are. We're kind of holding steady. We're going sideways. It's been holding around this 109, 110 area, and especially for the last year, it looks like it was down here and around a 1 all the way back up to here to the 109. And it has this resistance level. It doesn't want to go above it. So I'm not looking for it to do anything, but I do notice this squeeze. Now, remember what we talked about with squeezes when they tend to release, they'll release in the direction of their previous trend. Here it's squeezed and then it went up. So here it's squeezing. Previous trend here was kind of up, but here was down. It's a little bit dicey. Let's zoom in back to the daily. Here you had a squeeze right here, and then it released up. It pulled back down into this wave. I could imagine, like, if you wanted to play with it, you would buy it down here and sell it somewhere here. But that's something that you would have to decide if you're willing to play with. Let's take a look at natural gas. Natural gas has not been doing well lately. It's been pulling back, and the reason is that the ports. There's a problem with one of the ports. We've had warm weather, and it just has not been a good condition for the use of natural gas. But natural gas is considered clean energy, so it is kind of interesting to see what would happen. Russell 2K, that's been pumping up on the daily. You could see it met this resistance level here. But we'll zoom out. Let's take a look at what it looks like on the weekly chart. And there's room. We can go out even further. Let's take a look at the monthly chart. I like looking at the monthly chart. Let's clear the drawing here. And let's take a real fast drawing on some support and resistance levels that we can manage and to find easily. So right over here, you can see the wicks all kind of line up, and it lines up very well with this volume levels. So that's what we're going to look to do. We're going to look to line up our support and resistance lines with those levels. And look how that just matches up so nicely. Again, we can do that here, right? So we can come here and we can see, look, right about there, it kind of matches up with most of the wicks or comes close to it, right? So now we can zoom in. Let's go back to our daily, and you can see what it's been doing. So we've had a green trend. It's still following the trend. I'm not a buyer at this level, but if it did pull back, it might make some sense. Let's look at the S&P. S&P has been just running. So look at that trend. That's crazy. Eventually, these things do stop, right? I don't know. We zoom out, and you can see that was our support level down here, and we're all the way up here. So let's see what happens. A lot of times, we get up here, and you can see the distance. Look at this distance between here and here, right? Between the bottom of this wick and this line, this support line here. So this trend line, our trend line here, we're down here, and that candle's all the way up there. I would expect it to pull back into this trend line before it continues that meteoric rise. So we're going to look for it to squeeze at some point and pull back. Let's zoom into the weekly chart, and see if we can get any more clarity. But it doesn't look like we have much more clarity here. This is, you have some support here, but it's too close to really draw much of a line. But somewhere around there, definitely would expect it to come down to here, maybe in the 48, 4900 range. So let's look over here on the left and see what else we have in my daily watch list. And you can see we have the Dow Jones. Dow Jones has been doing the same sort of thing. Let's take a look at technology. This is the technology ETF, the XLK, the technology ETF. Again, look at that. We have a very strong level of resistance over there, and it looks like we've got some support. The volumes don't speak to what's going on, but we can zoom in, and you can definitely see that the volume levels are there. Zooming back in here a little bit more, you can see that we had breached this level of resistance yesterday and then pulled back down. So who knows? Maybe it'll pull down a little bit more and then give it another go. But we are squeezing. Take a look at that squeeze. I would expect it to meteoric takeoff right after here. So I might be a buyer soon, but I'm not yet a buyer. My trading bot that I built does not indicate to buy yet. It did have a sell over here. So let's see what happens in the next day or so. let's go over to the financials. They're doing something very similar. I would expect them to continue to run, although they do have that gap between their the wicks of their candles and this trend line. It's been fairly consistent. I wouldn't be too afraid. So let's take a look at the communication sector. Communication sector looks the same. At some point, we have to kind of wonder what's happening. Are we in such a good economy that everything is just green and running? And I don't have anything else to lead us to believe otherwise. But it's a little awkward feeling when you see everything running. This look at the energy sector, XLE. This is our energy. It's coming up to resistance. It hasn't met it yet. It's been in a green trend. It's at the top of its volume levels. Let's zoom out for a second. You can see it's had 1, 2, 3. This would be 4 attempts at the top. We have 1, sort of 2, 3, 4, 5 bottoms over here. It's got to go. Considering that things just normally trend upwards, I would imagine that this is going to break through at some point. But if I zoom out at the monthly chart, you could see we're squeezing over here. We squeezed here. When we squeezed here and it released, it came down. It squeezed here and it released and it went back up because that was the previous trend and it was kind of low. So I would be a little concerned that it's squeezing here and we're at the top, that it might kind of reverse down and fall on our heads, but I don't know. Let's look at the healthcare sector. Healthcare has been trying to have a nice run. On the monthly, you can see from 2009 to 24, it's basically been running up. We've got this squeeze going on. It's sort of releasing to going to the upside. Let's take a look at our daily version of that. Wow, look at that. It pulled back into this wave. I would expect healthcare then to continue running up. It's squeezing, it'll release, and it'll go up. If we take a look at what's in the healthcare ETF, you can see we have Lilly, United Healthcare, J&J, AbbVie, Merck, Thermo Fisher Scientific, Abbott Labs, Danaher, Pfizer, Amgen, Intuitive Surgical. These are some big names in pharma, and I would expect them to continue to do well coming up. We can take a look at one of these individually as well, based on like what news we have or whatever. But right now, that's what we got. Let's take a look. Let's continue our review this morning and go back into consumer staples. So here's consumer staples again, bouncing off of this resistance line. It's not yet in the wave. It still has this sort of greenish trend, but the bot did say to sell because it didn't like the action there, it looks like. So, there's a good chance this could pull back. Real estate sector has not been performing well, right, compared to those other sectors. Let's zoom out on the monthly, and you can see we have this support down here at 34. Let's draw our resistance level here at 40. So right now we're about $1 away from our resistance level, $1.50. Yeah, I'd be concerned. On the monthly, you can see that there is a buy signal. So let's look at the daily chart and see what we have here. We do not have any sort of buy signal, but I do like where it is. I think that real estate could continue upward depending on what we see with interest rates. So, this might be something to keep an eye on that you want to play with. Semiconductors, SMH. That's the semiconductor ETF. And we have a buy signal on the daily for the semiconductors. Now, the semiconductors, I don't have vision into exactly what's in semiconductors, but we can take a look at some of the popular semiconductors like NVIDIA, or we can look at AMD. AMD does not have as good of a pattern as Nvidia. Intel, same like that. Let's take a look at Marvel. Marvel, um, they're down. Look at that. They're close to this support level at 64. They're at 66. We don't. Do we have a buy signal yet? We don't have the buy signal yet, but it looks like it's coming close. And I wouldn't be too concerned about buying some Marvel. I kind of like that idea. I'll take a look at that some more later. And our options for buying it don't have to be to buy the stock. We could always like sell a put or buy a call, and these are not the most expensive. If you look out like 2 months, give us a little bit of time. Uh, you could see the 65 put is $3. So you might want to do something like, um, you know, buy the $65 put and sell the 60, and you can make like $2 it's showing. So let's see what that would be like if you were betting it was going to go down, right? If we wanted to reverse that, let's do this. Let's sell the 65 and buy the 60. Well, now we get that as a credit. Now we get we get 100 times that, right? So you get $181 for selling this put spread, right? So this put spread, you're selling the 65, you're buying the 60. It gives you protection if it goes below 60. If it falls somewhere in between 65 and 60, you lose a little bit of money, but not everything. Let's see what you could make and what you would lose. So if we did this trade, you could make a maximum of $360 and lose a maximum of $638. Not bad. Not my greatest idea to do. I prefer to be in a 1-to-1, but it's not always easy to get there. Here you could see the 65 to 55. It's a $10 spread, and you're only getting about 277. So that's like a 25%. Sometimes if you're a little more risky and you think it's definitely going to go up, you could sell something a little bit higher than where you are, buy something a little bit lower than where you are, maybe a $5 spread. Now you could see that's about 232. And so you see we're much closer. 232 maximum profit, 268 maximum loss. That might be something that would be a little bit more interesting, but it does require the stock to go above 67.5. And you could see that, the break-even price would be 66.38. So if the stock fell to 66.38, you would break even. All right, let's continue down through our process. Let's take a look at some of these other assets. We looked at the S&P and silver before. We looked, I believe, let's take a look, see this oil. We were looking at energy earlier. It did pull back. I don't see anything to do over here. The VIX is pretty low if you look at the VIX, but it does have this downward trend. So until you see some major volatility in the market, the VIX doesn't change much. And coming to utilities on the daily, it's been in this nice green trend. It has a lot of volume here. It's above their support. Let's zoom out real quick. We'll take a look at the monthly chart, and we can see where there's been some resistance and support. And there's definitely been some like resistance right around here, which doubles right as supports, depending on which way you look at it. Zooming into the weekly, we can add in some more layers, but we're right in between. So we have on the weekly a buy for utilities. Let's take a look on the daily. It's still green. So, preferably buy down here in this 62 level, like $1 lower. But you had a squeeze. It's in the process of releasing. I would imagine we would get a little bit closer to this 68. So if you wanted to play with the options, you could. And looking at micro crude, we just finished a nice run. the bot said to bounce. So let's get out of here. But it is a green trend. It did squeeze green trend. If it pulls back a little bit, then you might want to buy. I wouldn't. I wouldn't even. I wouldn't even say it's a terrible buy. You do have levels above. Let's go up to the monthly. Take a look, um, and you could see we have some support level and resistance levels around here. So a little hard with this volume ledge. Um, if I want to match it up with this volume ledge, you can see it's cutting the wicks, but that does look more appropriate. I don't think that energy is running up to these levels anytime soon above here, like in the 90s, but I don't know. We never do know. So let's go back into our daily, and you can see we drew that extra line. It would be hard to get up here, I think. We would need to see an increase in energy usage. And right now, going into summer, I don't know that we're going to be seeing that right now. Anyway, it's been a pleasure spending time with you today. And if you have any questions, I am happy to talk to you about them. Let's take a look and see if there's any news that's worthwhile before the market opens. Some as far as trades go, and so you can see Best Buy looks like is up 2% pre-market. We have a buy signal here. It already ran up a little bit. Might continue. There's a squeeze. Interesting. Best Buy might be something interesting to look at. FedEx. Wow, FedEx is up. They're at 292. They closed at 264. They must have had some good news. Let's see what news they've had. 30% rally. Wow. Maintains perform by Oppenheimer. Interesting. So Baidu spikes. That makes sense. Baidu spiking because we had Temu Pinduoduo spiking the other day. Schwab is up. There's a lot of things that are up, and a lot of things that are not. Yeah, that's silly. Anyway, that's the trade flash. Let's take a look at live news. We don't have to look at just that, but we can even open this up a little bit and get a better view of our news. And if there's anything interesting this morning, we can see it here. So I don't really like these cheap stocks, the $2 stocks or whatever. I prefer stocks that are over $20. It just gives you more room to understand what's going on. And then Lululemon. Citigroup maintains a price of $500 on Lulu. Wow. That is some expensive Lulu. And we can just continue looking through the news. I'll let you do that on your own. But if anything strikes your fancy, give me a shout. Let's talk about it. All right. I want to thank you for your time and have a great day.